This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, welcome to another Roundtable here on streamsemester.com. Josh, Adam, it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks. How we doing?
Good, man. Just came off spring break last week and back at things and ready to knock out these last, six weeks?
Yeah, 11.
Yeah, so excited about that. And like, I was expecting to come back and the kids were just like, nah, not into this anymore. But they've all actually kind of kept some momentum, so that's been pretty cool.
Very cool. And we were.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm doing great as well. Yeah, looking forward to these next few weeks that we started on summer. I try to get a good riding regimen going in the summer. So I'm excited about that. And the kids through the summer.
Gotcha.
How about you?
I'm good. Oh, I didn't get a spring break.
That's right.
Yeah, but we actually yesterday filmed our the last news source of the semester.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're wrapping that up. Sports, our last show is the 28th, and then we're remodeling the newsroom. So there's all that goes into that. So we're literally gonna strike everything out of our newsroom, and that's 8 or 10 lights from the ceiling and 5 or 6 cameras and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's busy. It's good though. And Josh,
Didn't you have big flooding or something there?
in December. Yeah, in December, Christmas Eve morning, we had a pipe burst and flooded some of the stuff. And I thought it was over at that point, but in the newsroom, luckily, I mean, it was only this much water, so nothing. Yeah. Everything's above. Everything in our workflow is off the ground, and even our stuff underground is off the ground. So we have a tunnel system under our building, and all of the cables are run about 5 feet off the ground. So if it had gotten into that, it would have been a lot bigger trouble. But basically, for the most part, on my side of the building, they just cleaned everything up, laid new carpet, and they were like, we're going to clean it all out in May anyway. So let's get through the semester.
Okay. It's fortuitous.
Yeah. Josh, you traveled?
Yeah, man, I took the family, hopped in the camper, and went down to New Orleans, and had a great time down there. Found lots of great food. I can come back and decisively say, if you're in New Orleans, you're going to get a beignet.
Yeah.
When you get a beignet in New Orleans, everybody tells you Cafe Du Monde.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's Cafe Beignet. 100%. It is the best beignet that I had while I was down there.
Tell a difference.
You can 100% tell a difference between the two. Yeah, it's just the light fluffiness of it. It's so much better, and the line is not as long. I took a tour while I was down there, and the guy giving the tour is like, and here's Cafe Du Monde, which means in French, the line goes down the block. And it's true every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great fun family trip, and got to see a lot of cool history, eat some good food, and make some good memories.
I laugh because in our text conversation, you're like, the food was great, the music was not a jazz fan.
You know what? Actually, if I have to pick music, it's jazz. Like it is really cool. Yeah, I like a good, put me on an elevator and just turn on the light jazz. I'm happy, man. Like I'm okay with that. It was actually, what was really cool is you're in a city with what, 1 million and a half people, and you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden you hear somebody yell across the street, "Is that Josh Dempsey?" And I was like, oh my Lord, who do I run into in New Orleans? And it was our orchestra teacher, Eric Herndon, who is incredibly talented. Came over and talked to me for a little bit. I was on a ghost tour. He came and walked on the ghost tour with us for a little bit. And I was just thinking, how crazy is it that the most talented musician in this city right now is just here on vacation?
Yeah.
Because the guy plays like every instrument. I mean, he's just like insanely talented. And I can't say that definitively, but I mean, the musicians are everywhere down there, and they're great. But like his stuff, he's fantastic. So it was just really cool to run into somebody in that small world situation.
Very
His
cool.
kazoo playing is bar none.
You know, I would go toe to toe with anybody on the kazoo. I'm not gonna lie.
I've heard him.
Okay.
And Adam, we talked a little bit over spring break about your VHS collection and how it's growing, and you've built a new way to dedicate your favorite VHS.
I have
the
actually.
bathroom mausoleum.
It's one of a few pictures. I don't know if I can show them on the thing though. But yeah, I mean, even so, yeah, I would take like 15 VHS tapes, kind of measure them out, and I'd build a frame around them, and then hang them on my bathroom walls. And I'll get some posters in there. Our posters are Barbarella because it's a cool poster, even though Jane Fonda's divisive. And then we also have Batwoman, which is a super cool, terrible movie that's awesome, but it's a cool poster.
Cool.
And God, even last night. So here's what's addictive about being on this VHS journey is you go on to eBay and there will be people that are like, hey, you can make an offer on this, or you can hit like, watch it. And I'll watch it. I'll watch something I like. And then they'll inevitably send you an offer that says like, hey, you want to buy this for $25 instead of 30. And I'm like, what about 20? So anyways, I'm starting going back and forth on this stuff. I don't even know if I really want it, but it's just I kind of like the idea of like, it's nice to get an email that's like, hey, your bidder accepted it. Like even last night, there were 4 tapes. They were $150. And I was like, I'll give you 110 for them. And the guy was like, done.
Wow.
And I've never even seen any of them, but they look really cool.
I need to see what VHS I have downstairs.
It was Poltergeist, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Sleepaway Camp. I don't even remember the other. But anyways, that's what I did. Remodeled the bathroom some, kind of did that, built frames, spent time with the wife.
That's awesome.
It was good.
Very cool.
Yeah, the art is awesome. It just looks cool. It would be a great way to decorate a video classroom.
Yeah.
It would actually.
And so you've never seen Poltergeist or Sleepaway Camp or those, or you just haven't seen the actual?
Sorry, I have seen Poltergeist. I haven't seen Sleepaway Camp or Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I'm pretty sure Sleepaway Camp was the first horror movie I watched.
Really?
Pretty sure, yeah. I remember that as a kid going, this is wild. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was, and I did watch Poltergeist and watched all the Freddy Krueger movies and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can say that Poltergeist was the first horror movie I ever saw. And I remember my parents taking me to the theater with a group of friends, and I was 4. I may have barely been 4.
What?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. Dad, I do apologize. But anyway, it was like, it has scarred me to this day. I remember my mom telling me in the theater, it's okay, it's just strawberry jelly. Like some things just stick with you.
Some good parenting there.
Yeah, no, my mom loves a horror film.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there was that. And then I got scarred later on with like Child's Play and all that kind of stuff. But it all started with Poltergeist. Don't go into the light.
You know, we had a video store in downtown Hackworth, and I was just getting into horror. I was like reading Fangoria magazine and, you know, crazy stuff. And I had a set of Garbage Pail Kids, and I sold them all for like, you know, I don't know, $20 or something like that. This huge stack, fat stack. Then I went and rented Friday the 13th, 1, 2, 3, and like 4 or something, you know. But I wish I had those Garbage Pail Kids now.
Yeah, man, Garbage Pail Kids.
They're back. Kelly and I saw them in the store a couple weeks ago, but they're so soft. They're like,
oh, are they?
Yeah, they're like mildly horrifying Marty, and it's like they're so soft. It's nothing like when we were kids, where you would literally open a pack and go, that's a little much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Huh.
Well, since last time we talked, we've got big news. Really excited about this. We've got a sponsor, and really, really excited that Amy Trace, amytrace.com, has signed on to sponsor Stream Semester for the remainder of the year. So we're not talking like a little
fantastic.
Faraz and the crew there, really excited. It's going to open up some stuff for us. And Josh, you and I have worked with those guys for a long time, and we talked about it before we pitched it to them, and there's no one who we want to represent more than Amy Trace.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say I knew them back when they were Amatrace.
and
Fancy now.
they sponsored teaching to the test pattern several years ago, and I just every time I would talk to Faraz, he would say Amy Trace, and I would go okay, and then I would go to start a podcast and go Amy, so it's amytrace.com, AMITRACE. We'll have a link in the. You won't be able to miss them, but we'll definitely have one in the description for this show.
Yeah.
The great thing
Pretty
about
sure I graduated with Amy Trace. No,
the,
that's the way I'm going to have to remember this, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to open up some doors for us that I'm really excited about. We're going to do a feature called Ask the Engineer, where we'll talk with Faraz or Matt or Philip or Peter or one of those guys about things that they're seeing in the classrooms that an engineer can help with. Or, if someone writes in and has a question, we will work with them as well on that. And one of the things that Faraz and I are working on is a new studio checklist. So if you're building a new studio, you're refreshing your studio, what are the things that you need to think about? Space, light, sound, equipment, cables, all of those things that often get left off when you're thinking about those things. So really, really excited about having those guys on board. We're going to talk with them a good bit over the next 9 months or so.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely excited to be able to work with them. I cannot speak more highly of a company that does what they do than Amatrace, or golly, Amy Trace. Wow, I get it. All right. I've had Philip in my room, and students would be here, and Philip would be, building out a cable, and he'd be like, "Hey, come here, let me show you how to do this." And he would actually take time and teach my students how to terminate a cable. Terminate, that's the word I was looking for. So they are a fantastic company, and they care, which is something that I can say that I have not experienced with every company that I've used. So I'm glad to rep the Amy Trace brand.
And Peter, who is one of the newer engineers there's debate on whether or not I showed him the TriCaster first or he showed me. But we're talking 2006, 2007, in the parking lot of Clear Channel Radio in Atlanta, where look at this thing, it does all this crazy stuff, and nerding out on that. But I said he introduced it. He said I introduced it. So either way, those guys have been around for a long time, and they do fantastic work, and I'm really, really excited to work with them. Like I said before. So
for people that don't know them, what should they know? Amy Trace.
They are, I guess their official marketing title would be a solutions provider. Like you would call them in and go, "Hey, I'm building out this studio. What do I need?" And they would ask you what you want to do, how many tools you have, that kind of stuff, and kind of what and then they would build a solution for that. The difference in them and others that I've found when I talk to people is the training. As a part of your package, typically there's a block of training that they will give to you where Philip or Peter or one of the other guys will come and sit and show you exactly what you need to know. And I got to sit on one of those a couple of years ago. It wasn't for me. It was for a church that we had I had friend of a friend kind of deal, and I was like, can I just watch? And even watching it, having used the TriCaster for years, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll write that one down. So there's definitely something there. But even one-off stuff, if you're looking for new cameras, new lights, that kind of stuff, they provide primarily broadcast solutions, but they really do. They're really, really. I'm still mad at myself from 2018 for not hiring them to build out the studio at the last school I was at. I did it myself. I bought a lot of stuff I didn't need. I didn't buy things I needed. And more importantly, I didn't have that training. So, really, really excited to have them on.
Yeah.
And they will be front and center on all of our stuff for a while. So,
Good. Awesome.
Josh, before we came on air, you were talking about a big day for you. You had your EOPA today.
That's funny. We didn't talk about this, but I've got it. That's the first thing that I've got on my note here I was going to talk about. Yeah. So today was the end of pathway assessment. That's what we call it here in Georgia. I don't know. What do other people call that?
Certifications, that kind of stuff. But yours is a legitimate certification.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose to go with the Adobe Premiere test. In Georgia, we have 3 options. We have the Skills USA test, which I have found to be outdated since I started teaching. And as I've been teaching for 17 years, and I don't believe they've updated it since then. And then there's the NOCTI test, which I haven't really got a lot of experience with. And then there's the Adobe test. And with the Adobe test, I am 100% that is the right option because the kids can leave the program with a professional certification. So it's really good. It's not, I don't care about the numbers probably as much as I should because uh, I guess the flaw with the Adobe test is it really only measures your editing ability. And I have so many kids, and there's so many things that they can do in this industry that they don't always focus on editing while they're here. And so, you know, like they may have a fantastic portfolio that demonstrates, how well they write or, different things, but not necessarily editing. But for those who really get into it and they have a professional certification at the end of high school.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And that test is, that's one of those, having administered all 3, with in Georgia, you can do Photoshop, you can do Premiere, you can do After Effects, you can do NOCTI, you can do Skills. I've administered all 3. That is the one that I had the lowest success rate on. But I think that that's because it is the one that carries the most weight. It's the one that people outside of education care about.
Right.
When a student walks in and says, "Hey, I'm Adobe certified," it matters. When they say, I passed the NOCTI test or the skills test, industry folks go, "Oh, okay, what is that?" So, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but I am. The NOCTI test is so broad that it's hard to teach to. I had a student many, many years ago. I haven't given that test in probably 6-7 years, so that question may not still be on there. But the ultimate answer to the test was a satellite uplink truck. And if you can, listen, in my current state, if you can show me a school that has the funds to own, maintain, and use a satellite uplink truck, I'll go work there. No matter where it is. Because... I want to say it's hundreds of dollars a minute to do that.
It is.
And it's not something that you're just going to go down to the local rival high school and set up and shoot. So, well, congratulations to you and your students on that. That's a big deal. That's a good thing, and that's something that definitely sets your program apart and sets those kids leaving your program apart.
It was just a change in the atmosphere today. Like they kind of came in a little more optimistic than they have in the past, and then they left like just with smiles. It was crazy, and they were even in here after school working on stuff. And Adam can tell you, like when they were here, they were all giddy, and so it was cool.
So for you, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, you're going to write an article about how you prepared these kids for success?
It's a crapshoot.
I disagree.
No, yeah, I guess I can. Like I've really gotten into where I want them making content because that's how they learn. But I'm also throwing in like, I'm such a nerd about this stuff that at night I'm laying in bed watching YouTube tutorials from like Premiere Basics or Premiere Gal or Film Riot will put out something and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I will take that, and the next day I will come in and I'm like, how are we going to do this in class? And I will incorporate their tutorial into what we're doing. And so it's constantly, it's a lot of work because I'm constantly updating and changing based on the information that I'm getting. So it is a little bit of work, but it is something that I think that the kids actually get a benefit out of. So it's been cool.
We used G-Metrics when I was teaching, and that was hands down the best tool because it's created by the people who create the test.
Yeah.
And we had on our schedule, we had a 30-minute rotating thing. So like Monday it was this period, Tuesday it was this period, Thursday it was this period, that period. And that's what we did for those 30 minutes all semester. They would just go through and crank through that, and had good success. We did Premiere and Photoshop, and it certainly wasn't my teaching ability. It was the ability to get them to do those geometrics things.
I mean, it's just the experience. I think Adobe says you need 150 seat hours to really be ready for the test, and I would say, yeah, that's absolutely true. So by the end of 3 years, if your kids are with you and they're doing stuff, if they're editing half of the time in the class, they should be ready. But some of them just don't.
And
they
a point about
some
that
of them
test,
just aren't going to edit.
A point about that test too is it's not just editing. It's some vocabulary. It's some, it talks about the pre-production process. It talks about that kind of stuff. So while ultimately the focus is editing, it still encompasses all of the standards that most CTAE and CTE programs are going to teach. It's going to teach the script writing.
It has the working in the industry section. I'm like really glad I made 100 on that.
So
on that part,
I'll give you a chance to beat your chest. Who in your program had the highest score?
Me? No, no.
That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, no. I set the curve, and they're not really happy about it. No, it's I had a student who got really close to 900, and so it was cool. My highest score ever was I had a kid last year get an 885, which I was like, man, that's awesome. So I'm proud of them. Again, there's not a difference between a 700 and 1,000 on that test.
Nope.
You still get that little Adobe credential, and that's what these kids care about.
Yep.
And that's what employers care about, I hope. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we talked as we were testing mics and stuff about taking that test and wanting to make sure that we were well above the curve of our students. I did Photoshop one day and then Premiere the next day when I took mine, and it was I was very stressed hitting that final submit because I knew what the kids had made previously. I was like, oh man, I cannot give any of these kids any leverage on that. So
that is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, so you use Adobe as well, Tom?
Very much.
So Josh uses Adobe. So several years ago, the Georgia Film Academy was pushing teachers to be, what is it?
Avid.
Teaching teachers into Avid. And I sat down and did it it was like 4 Saturdays for 4, 5, 6 hours. There was this test, and I bombed it. And I'm not an editor, but I did everything they asked me to do. But they were like, yeah, Avid's like what teachers should be using, but I don't know that many programs that are using it.
So Avid is a phenomenal editor. It really is. And I guess the way that I would draw an equation there would be the difference in my Honda Accord and like a super top end BMW.
Okay.
They kind of can do the same thing. The workflow is pretty similar, but it's just if you got to have that BMW and don't hear me wrong, there are a lot of people in the industry who don't think you should edit on anything under Avid. And that's, at UGA, James Biddle, who is a phenomenal teacher, who I've got to figure out how to get him on here at some point, teaches Avid, and he teaches DaVinci, and he teaches the Adobe products. And, Avid is the creme de la creme. It is what they use in Hollywood. But it's cost prohibitive for a lot of high schools. And honestly, more important, it's cost prohibitive for a lot of students, and not just high school students, but college students as well, in that there's specific computers you have to have, there's specific workflows you have to have. Whereas with Adobe, my $700 laptop can run the Adobe products. At the end of the day, if your kids are shooting and they're editing and they're getting those practice reps and they're getting that seat time and they're getting those skills, I don't think it really matters. But yes, the film industry at the upper echelon level is using Avid. So, I don't know that every high school should use it. As a matter of fact, I know every high school shouldn't use it. But I know most students can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, I just talking about like cost and everything, I am very strongly considering, and this would be a problem for the Adobe test, but I'm very strongly considering switching to DaVinci just because it's free and the kids then have access to it at home if they have a computer. So I'm thinking about that. And even the DaVinci, you did the thing about DaVinci for iPad.
Yeah.
And that's a really impressive free editing software. So, I mean, to me, it really is about the kids being storytellers. If they want to be a film editor, they're going to need to go somewhere where they have the access to something like Avid.
And I don't know how you're set up in terms of licensing for Adobe, but if your students have a login, so let's say they have a.student at marietta.jk12ga or whatever as their login, they can have Adobe on their machine, their personal machines as well.
If for some reason that is not working, like I can't even get it to work on mine.
Gotcha.
So I'm not sure if it's like something like our people at the district are like, yeah, you should be able to do that. But then when we try to do it, it never works.
Gotcha.
So, but you know, DaVinci, it's free. And I mean, it would be free on a lab of computers.
Yep.
So I don't know. I love Adobe. Like I thought I was going to be a Final Cut guy until they went to Final Cut X, right? And then I'm like, no, I'm not a Final Cut person anymore. So then I got Premiere Pro, and just I've evolved with it, and I absolutely love Creative Cloud.
Yeah, it's we've talked about this in the past about. I love Photoshop. I love that whole workflow where, you know, I was working on a project with students a couple weeks, or this week actually, and I was creating something for them and they didn't like the color, and I could just go into Photoshop, tweak that color, and it tweaked all the way through the workflow, and not have to export and re-import and swap out and that kind of stuff. So I really do enjoy the Adobe workflow. Speaking of BlackMagic and Adobe, oh man, we're like 4 days from me being in Las Vegas at NAB.
That's exciting, man.
Dude, it hit me Tuesday morning. I was walking from the parking deck to my office, and I was coming down the hill that kind of looks over Grady, and I was like, in the background there's Sanford Stadium, home of the 2-time national championship Bulldogs. But I was coming down the hill, and it was like, oh man, this time next week, you'll be probably still asleep. But you'll be on a monorail headed to the Las Vegas Convention Center for NAB, and it hit hard. I went to my office and I started making phone calls and sending emails and that kind of stuff. So, really excited about that. Talking to a lot of really good people. Definitely talking to BlackMagic. I think they were the first appointment I set. Talking to Canon. Talking to Ross, talking to Audio-Technica, talking to really anybody who'll listen or will tell me some of their secrets. So really excited about that. I think at last count I had like 35 meetings scheduled for the 3 days I'm on the ground. So
you have a press badge too, right?
Yeah. I'll be. I registered as Stream Semester and as the broadcast engineer at UGA, so I could UGA. Is where I'm going for. Obviously, they're funding it, so I'm going there as their representative. But I also know the press pass gets me into places that the other one won't. So really excited to attend some of those press conferences and get to see what's coming out next. I mean, that's ultimately what NAB is. Ross announced today that they're going to have a keynote on Saturday before NAB starts, and they're going to announce some pretty big stuff. So. I won't be there for that, but I'll definitely be there to talk to those guys on Monday or Tuesday.
All right, who is the one group that you haven't talked to before that you are most excited to talk to?
Man, probably honestly the Associated Press. I'm going to try to talk to them about ENPS and see There's a lot of mystery in the pricing on that, and I really think that their rundown stuff, their integration stuff, I think that it may not be as unattainable as a lot of people think. So I'm really excited to talk with those guys.
Okay. Well,
You didn't expect that one, did you?
I didn't. I thought it was going to be gear, but
well, I am talking to Canon.
Okay.
I set that up this morning. Actually, our chief technical officer for Grady set that up this morning. In the past, Canon has had this really big, elaborate stadium set up, and there's always something down at the bottom, and then at each tier, there's a different level lens with a different zoom and different camera and all that stuff. So I'm hoping they have that again, so I can play. Because in the past, I've gone with a group, and we've been cranking out content the entire time. It's just been crank. And now I'll be able to just kind of coast through and really see everything. The other thing is, I don't know who I'm going to talk to either. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I've kind of mapped out what I want to do when I want to do it, but getting something that size into a confined space mentally, can't. I mean, until you go, it's one of those things that's almost impossible to describe. And I'll take a ton of pictures and post a ton of pictures, but it's impossible to describe the scope of the event. The Las Vegas Convention Center is massive. And then just how tightly packed some of that stuff is in there.
Yeah.
So will you come back with some like goodies or freebies or something like that?
I hope so, man. I hope I have to pack another carry-on full of stuff that I got for free. That's always the fun part about conventions, are pencils and papers. And I went, the last time I went was 2019, and Manfrotto has these cell phone adapters that go on a tripod. It's about this big, but it was flat, and you would twist the ends, and it would pop out, and it would have the spring-loaded thing in there. And it was really, really good thing, and they were giving those out, and that's the kind of stuff you can expect. Obviously, pens and papers and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, man. I really don't know what all to expect. I've set those meetings. I'm going to go to those meetings and talk to those people. And actually, my wife, whom loves me dearly, and for some reason, bought me a new toy to play with, and I'm going to play with it there. I'm going to record a bunch of the stuff when I talk to these people for content for Stream Semester, obviously. But she bought me a Zoom PodTrack P4.
Nice, man.
And I'm really excited about it because it really is like a mobile podcast kit. It's got 4 XLR inputs. It's got 3.5 millimeter outputs, different levels for each output, different levels for each input, solos, mutes, all that stuff. Inside of it's got sound pads, and you know how much we love sound pads. It's got 4 of them, but it's small enough that I can just put it in my hand, hold a microphone, conduct interviews. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. So I will definitely, as I find interesting people to talk to, talk with them and get some content. I'm hoping, we'll see how the days go, that I can maybe put some content out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday while I'm there. But we'll see. Okay. I'm also going to meet with some teachers out there. I've already set up some appointments to meet with some teachers that are out there. So,
hey, nice.
Plan on coming back and having a good piece on why teachers should be an NAB and not just their county level lesson planning, professional development.
So is this designed all for teachers, or is it in the industry?
No, it's not at all for teachers.
Okay.
On the surface, don't hear me wrong. It is the National Association of Broadcasters. So this was the first place that I went to, and I was talking to a salesperson, and he basically pat me on the shoulder and goes, "You can't afford this." I was like, "Oh, okay." It's I don't even know how to describe. Like, I showed my son, because he and I compete for on our Apple Watches who does more work and that kind of stuff. And I said, "Son, I'm going to kill you next week because I'm going to this convention." And I said, "I plan to walk 10 to 15 miles a day." And so I pulled it up on Google Maps, and you've got the Las Vegas golf course here. And then all around it and larger than it is the convention center.
Oh my Lord.
And there are pieces of it that are 2 stories. So, so I have no idea what I'm going to find, but it's, hopefully this time next year, this conversation will be, have you packed all of your stuff? Let's all go. Because it definitely, it's a place where teachers should be, because one of the things that we can probably all agree on is that as an educator, you get stuck in a classroom, you get into that grind, you just power through 9 months. You take a week off, you're in professional development for 2 months, you take a week off, and then you're 9 months back in again. And you look up and it's been 10 years and you haven't talked to anyone, you haven't built any relationships with manufacturers or industry people. That's the other thing that's there. All industry people. If you want to see a news person, they're going to be there. Their general managers are going to be there. All of those people, everybody will be there. So it's a great place for educators to go and make relationships. And I think that some school systems are ahead of the curve on that. There's about 15 teachers that I know that'll be there for sure. There's obviously more that I don't know of. I think it's 250,000 people attend this event.
My district was sending me last year, and then it got shut down again.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get to go last year. So I was going to go this year, but there's something else I wanted to do. So hopefully next year they'll spring for it again. But let me jump back on gear real quick.
Yeah.
And this will be brief, but I just received from BlackMagic the 6K Pocket 6K Gen 2. I did an unboxing video, my first ever. It's like Christmas morning. It's amazing. So recorded an unboxing video, and I took it out yesterday, shot with it, and today I took it and shot with it, and I can say that it is such a leap forward compared to my only experience being with the 4K. It is such a leap forward, and I'm not even talking about just like the quality. I'm just talking about the way it feels, and it's awesome. I'm looking forward to sharing some footage that I shot with it, and everything I've done. Like, I'm almost ashamed to admit, has been handheld, and it is like it's turned out really well. I shot handheld tennis yesterday with it, and it was super bright outside. And the complaint there is can't really see the screen, but using focus assist on there and everything, I was just blown away by how good some of this footage looks. So huge thanks to BlackMagic for making that possible. Now I just need to get them to send me the eyepiece so I can shoot outside again.
So what has been the thing that surprised you the most so far?
It's going to sound weird, but the weight. There's just like when you take it out of the box, you're like, man, I'm holding a camera.
Yeah.
As opposed to like in comparison to like the 4K, like the 4K almost feels like a mirrorless, like just a really lightweight camera. There's a sturdiness to this that I really like. And I don't have small hands, right? So I want to start, maybe it's that, but I even let a couple of students hold it and they're like, man, this just feels better. And maybe there's something about that weight that helps with the stableness of the shots. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like a better camera. And obviously the screen tilts.
Yeah.
So like the fact that you can tilt it up or down and it kind of like will pull out from the camera a little bit, that is a huge thing. So yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Very cool. That's one of the things that I'm most excited about for NAB is the BlackMagic setup, because they if they make it, it's going to be on display there, and it's really cool to just kind of see it all and be able to touch it and punch the buttons and that kind of stuff.
Good stuff.
Very cool.
Is BlackMagic's game to not only make their evolution, like to make things better, like quality wise, but also to make it easier to use for people, or is that not a consideration? Do you know?
I think that their philosophy is let's get good gear in everybody's hands. I really do think that is their philosophy, because the price point for their equipment is ridiculous in terms of what you get for what you pay. It's very, very good. And they continue, like, they frustrate me because every time they're like, hey, we got a big announcement. I'm like, all right, how many more things are they going to put in this camera or in this ATEM or whatever? Because their last ATEM, you could get a 1 terabyte memory in it. and you could ISO record up to 8 cameras plus the master feed or the program feed. They're phenomenal. I mean, and it does make it. I've got the Ursa. I've got an Ursa broadcast. Tons and tons of buttons, tons and tons of things that you can push to make it go wrong. But at the same time, really smartly designed so you can look at it and go, oh, that button shouldn't be pushed in. So I think that they're trying to get as much gear in as many people's hands as possible and make it good, high quality gear.
And I'll talk more about this when I do a full review, but I would say that they could get rid of the CFast, the compact flash card. Like it's too big and they're too expensive. I just put in 2 SD card slots.
Well, I think that is something that's a difference in education versus professional. With the pros, they're filming such high quality, such high volume. That they're filming raw, they're doing all of those things. So I think that that is where they're balancing that between professional and non-professional, in that it does have an SD card. I remember when the Ursa came out, it only had a PL mount naturally. Well, a PL lens, you're talking $3,000 to $5,000 to start, and now the Studio 6K that or the 8K or whatever, I forget which one it is, they just announced, is an EF mount native. So if you want to go a different direction, you've got to buy an adapter. So they're definitely trying to trace that line between professional and consumer level. The difference in the cinema camera and the Ursa is ridiculous in terms of what they'll do, and I think that they're trying to balance those two.
Well, man, I had dinner last night with some people. It was fun.
Some heavy hitters, man.
Yeah, with James Dinsmore, who's at River Ridge in Cherokee County. John Cribb, who is he's over in Fulton County, and Hal Funderburk, who used to be in Fulton, who is who I'm pretty sure swept Skills USA Nationals a few years ago.
Felt like it.
From Cambridge High School, but he's at Etowah High School now in the media center. Yep. And still can't stop doing video. So he's doing video in that role. But it was great to be able to get with him. And I say all of that to kind of segue into the fact that we've got Camp T&I coming up in June, which is outside of maybe the Georgia broadcast Facebook group, is probably the best professional development that you can get as a video teacher. So very much looking forward to that, being able to get together with people, share some ideas. What all do you have planned for that?
I've got a couple presentations. Really proud of Adam Logan, who has taken that bull by the horn and is really working to grow it back to what it was in 2020. We lost, obviously a lot of momentum. 2019, we had 88 teachers there. I'm doing a presentation on basically rigor and making sure that you're setting the tone for your classroom to a way that pushes your students to the point of failure in order for them to succeed. And then whatever else Adam asks me to do. Really excited to go down there. I'm going to spend all 2.5 days down there. So I'm really excited about it. And it is by far, hands down, the best professional development for video production teachers. And unfortunately, it's only for Georgia teachers. So, but if you're outside of Georgia and want to know how it's done, shoot us a message. I'll give you the recipe. It's really simple. Food.
Speaking of recipes, we are actually sponsoring the breakfasts there, right? We're going to do breakfast. So streamsemester.com, providing breakfast for all of our Georgia people who will be there. I'm not sure, if we're going to be bringing in the shrimp and grits and the praline French toast like our previous host. Man, you don't even know. It's absolutely incredible.
I do know that Adam has reached out to Kevin Pullen, and if you know Kevin Pullen, I'm hoping Kevin is a part of it. Kevin's one of those guys who could literally read the phone book, and I would be engaged by it. He's just so passionate about everything.
That's exciting.
Oh man. Listen, I cannot say enough about Kevin Pullen and you know, just the stuff that he's just that guy. I mean, he really is. He could read the phone book.
Kevin Pullen, right? As he said,
Kevin Pullen.
I know him. He was at the.
He was at the GFA thing with us.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He's got a nickname though, doesn't he? Like.
No, I don't remember him having a nickname. But yeah, he sat down there near you. Yeah, because Phelps and I were on the other end of that row. Yeah. Great dude. And
yeah, you're right. Cool guy.
Here's the recipe on how to make great professional development for video teachers. It's food. It's food. Yeah. Make sure that's
where it starts for
sure. Make sure there's tons and tons of coffee, tons and tons of water, and then feed them. And have teachers teach, not other people. And don't bring anyone from above a classroom educator. Well, can't say that. But have teachers teach it, not other people.
And let us do things.
Yes, it's hands-on.
Don't just sit there and tell us what we need to do. Don't demonstrate for us what we need to not do.
Yeah.
Don't get up and just do a PowerPoint presentation. Get up and do a PowerPoint presentation and say, okay, now let's go do what we just looked at, you know, and that's the one thing that I do really enjoy about Camp T&I. You can hop into that film side of things if that's what you love, or if you feel like that's what you need to improve on, or if you are like, oh, I need to learn a little bit more about mobile journalism. You know, you can go and do that. Not sure if that's the way it's going to work out this year, but in the past we've had options, and
there will be options.
It's just been a really good, good stuff. So. Yeah, let us do things.
In 2019, that was obviously the year before COVID, because 2020 we did it all virtually. And I remember sitting at Barbara Jean's and looking across the restaurant, and there's just tables, 5, 6, 7 tables of video production teachers with their families all together, like not just the video, like Josh and his family and then me and my family. It would have been Josh and my families all sitting together, eating dinner, sharing stories, laughing, having a good time. And I honestly choked back just emotions, because I was like, this is what it's supposed to be. And it hasn't always been that way. And it still in a lot of places isn't, where it's me, give me, and I'm not going to share anything to you. That's the opposite of what Camp T&I is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Adam, you're coming down this year? Is that what I heard?
I am, if it's cool with Dempsey.
Yeah, man. I'm going to make it work.
Megan's not going?
No. So you'll have to go down there and make sure that the room is clean, because I'm not there.
Josh likes his coffee with 2 creams, 2 sugars.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys.
Yeah, I'm locked in. Excited.
So what's coming down the pike for you? What's up next?
Me. So I've been keeping track. You know, my focus is IB Film, so I've been keeping track. I'm part of an IB Film Facebook group. I'm kind of looking at questions they have, things that come up there. That's where I'm trying to steer. And right now I'm kind of steering into this comparative video where kids have to take 2 films for this assessment and compare and contrast them. So that's what I'm looking at, trying to find resources for that, ways to get kids to engage with films, to look beyond obvious things. Anyways, kind of putting something together for that.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was trying to sell IB Film today to a student. You know, being an IB school, we have kids who are doing their personal project showcase. That's what we're like today and tomorrow. Did you get a chance to go in there today?
I did not.
Okay. So we have a huge seminar room, and today it was packed, and these kids have these passion projects that they just pour themselves into doing, whether it's, you know, learning how to play the guitar, or learning how to, you know, I saw this girl who made these masks today, like dragon masks that were like just absolutely exquisite. I was like, man, this is crazy. Just walking around through there, and I see a girl who has a trifold board, and it's the Breakfast Club. And I'm like, the Breakfast Club? I'm like, what? I was like, you got to talk to me. I was like, tell me what's going on here. And so she's like, first, I love the Breakfast Club. I took the movie and I analyzed the movie. I did, you know, character breakdowns, and I took all of their fashion and redesigned it for what it would look like today based off of who their characters are.
Wow.
And I was like, please tell me you're taking IB film next year. And she was like, I don't know. She's like, I'm in drama and I'm in advanced drama and I love that. And I was like, and I understand, I totally understand that. I was like, but we'd love to have you. And she was like, well, no, I just like analyzing movies for fun. I was like, well, if you want to analyze movies for a grade, I was like, you know where we are. So it's kind of funny, seeing these kids and like seeing some of their passions and stuff. And that just, I thought that tied in, with, what you're talking about, the comparative. So that was really cool. As far as what we've got coming up, in terms of stream semester, I am going to be pushing out some content, hopefully, about the BlackMagic camera, the experience. And that may be several videos and, an article or two related to that, just because, I'm in love. Yeah, right now. Wow. That's where I am. No, I told my wife last night, I was like, I think I love this camera. And I don't know, like I really like the 4K, but I'm loving the experience that I have with this one so far. So looking forward to writing about that. Now, if something goes wrong, I'll write about that too. So anyway, but as far as what we're looking for, I gave my kids like a menu. We've got 6-ish weeks of class left, 5, almost 6 weeks, I guess. And so I said, all right, here's the options that you have for videos. These are your final projects that you're going to be doing in here. So I was going over what they're going to be, able to choose from, and hopefully just kind of exciting them with the fact that they're going to be able to take ownership, kind of going into that whole, personal project thing. Like this is the chance to do a passion film project. If they have want to do a funny video, if they've written a sketch, or if they want to do a short film, a music video, a news package, a documentary, whatever it is they want to do, I've kind of laid out how they can go about, choosing that, putting together the team that they need, and, my expectations for that. So I'm hoping that that'll kind of, get some kids excited and build up a little bit of momentum to take my level 1 and 2 students into next year, on a positive, where they're like, oh man, I remember doing that. How can I keep this going? So that's the way I kind of want to end. And then I'm also making them do portfolios. So it's gathering up all of those things that they've already worked on. And it was fun today. I saw a group just kind of huddled around a computer and they were laughing. And I was like, all right, what's going on? And I go over there and look, and they're in level 2, and they've got up their level 1 videos, and they're looking at those from last year, and they're just like, oh my goodness, and they're laughing at it. And I like, it's so fun that they're able to look back on that and be like, man, I remember doing this, and then to look where they are now and be able to say, yeah, that's where you started, and this is where you are now. Imagine where you can end up. And I talked to him about that. I had a guy come in who was he's the director of video for Reach Records. I don't know if you know Reach, but if you've ever heard of Lecrae or Andy Mineo, like these are like really popular Christian rap artists. He does all of their videos, and his stuff is insane. Like some of the videos he's done, I'm just like, holy cow. I had him come in and speak, and he showed one of his videos, and my class was just blown away. And then he's like, well, let me show you my first video. And he showed us a video that he did in high school in his video production class. And my kids are just like, I can do better than that now. And he was like, yeah, he's like, this was horrible. He's like, so it doesn't matter where you start. Like, if you want to do this, if you care about doing this, he's like, you can get there. You just have to work at it. And he's like, but you also need to keep that stuff so you can see where you came from. And I was like, man, that's awesome. So,
one of my favorite things that I used to do, and it was a pain in the butt, but it actually worked out well, was I would make them have an online portfolio, and monthly I would grade it. And that way, at the end of the year, when I wanted that final piece, they would just have to go in and make tweaks, and I'd have to scavenge for their stuff. One of my students now at UGA was a student for me when I was in Morgan County. He still uses the same the same website for his demo reel and all that stuff now. So I appreciate that a lot from him.
I think that the kids need to be putting their stuff on YouTube.
Yes.
And I tell them, and when I say that, they are like, like they don't want people looking at it. I'm like, y'all, you can set it to private, so you're the only person who ever sees it. Or for this assignment, put it to unlisted, so nobody can search for it, but I can see it. Or you can set it to public. I mean, it's up to you. I don't really care. But I think having that and being able to go back, 10 years from now and say, man, I've really grown a lot as a person. I've really grown a lot as a producer. Or if they don't go into video at all, maybe, 10, 15 years down the road, when their child looks at them and says, hey, what were you like in high school? They have that they can pull up and show. And my goodness, my high school mass media teacher sent me a link to a video from when I was in high school not too long ago. Mm-hmm. No, I wasn't in high school not too long ago, but sent me the video, and I showed it to my family, and they will not stop making fun of me.
Well, they should.
It was well deserved, but it's crazy to see what I was doing then and what I'm doing now. I don't know if you can tell just by hearing me talk, but I grew up in a place called Clem. Right? It's on CLEM. It's on the Alabama line. I may not have ever tipped a cow, but I was close to them when it happened. So we'll leave it there.
So this student and I were talking yesterday, and he got to experience all forms of Tom White teaching. His first year in video production, I was helping. It was the marketing teacher teaching video, so I was kind of coaching her through that. The second year of him doing it was 2017. I was teaching it virtually. So I would shoot a video, send the assignment, wait on emails, grade the stuff. So I was doing virtual before virtual was it was always a pain in the butt. And then for his senior year, he got me as an in-person teacher. And now he has me as the guy who is just the engineer who I'm not a teacher, so I can just tell you, hey, that looks stupid. Quit being stupid. So we've had a lot of fun over the last couple of weeks.
That is really cool.
Special, yeah.
All right, I'm sure it's about time to wrap up.
Yes, we've been doing this 57 minutes.
That's it.
That's it.
Really?
I need to go back to New Orleans just so I can listen to our podcasts, just like back to back to back.
There you go.
That's a good thing to do on the road. All right, talk to us about your hat, man.
All right, Rocket City Trash Pandas. They are actually, and as I scroll my mouse across the Zoom screen there, they are actually a part of an article I'm working on. They're in Huntsville, and interesting, 7 degrees of Tom White. Josh Carey is their play-by-play guy. He worked for me when I was in Atlanta. You've heard of his uncle and his grandfather and his great-grandfather.
Hey.
Yeah. Hi. So Josh Carey is their broadcast and director of their broadcast stuff. They're a good guy. But last weekend, they had the greatest 6 2/3 innings you could imagine. Now, they were playing a doubleheader. So new minor league baseball, new Major League Baseball rules. Doubleheader, you play 7-inning games. So for 6 2/3 of an inning, no hits. They were up 3-0. Here is how the top of the 7th inning went for them. They walked a guy, they walked another guy, pop out number 1. Walked a guy, bases loaded, strikeout, 2 outs. Walk a guy, it's now 3-1. Long fly ball to center field. Center fielder drops back, does everything he's supposed to do, turns around, misses the ball, 2 runs score.
Oh, what do you mean misses the ball? Hits his glove and
doesn't even hit his glove. Like it's 6 inches away from his glove. Next batter gets hit. Bases are now loaded again. The game is tied 3-3. The next batter gets hit. Another run scores. The next batter gets hit. Another run scores. Then they walk.
It's the same pitcher doing a no-hitter.
Same pitcher. They walk the batter, another run scores. Then there's a wild pitch. The score is now 7-3.
Oh my goodness.
They hit another runner. And then they strike out the last batter. And as I was watching this unfold, I felt that gut for that pitcher in my teacher gut, because I remembered so many times that I was like, all right, in my head, I'm killing this lesson. Like this lesson, I'm just rocking it. It's awesome. These kids are just like, it's going to be great. And then I say, all right, now it matters. And they walked 5 batters and then they hit 4. So I'm drawing that parallel because it really did hit my teacher gut, because as I was watching the highlights, I didn't watch it live, obviously. I was like, man, I know that feeling. Like everything is going so great, and then it's time to get that last little piece, and it doesn't work. Now, the other side of that story is they came back 40 minutes later and won the next game. So they did turn it around. So that's kind of how I'm going to end that article as well. So Rocket City Trash Pandas out of Huntsville, they're on my list for this summer.
They used to be the Huntsville Stars, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, that was the athletics minor league. I've got family over there, and so I remember going to a few Stars games. Got to see Conseco.
Oh,
yeah, nope, not that one.
Oh.
Ozzy.
The little brother.
Yeah, his brother. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But no, it was really cool to be able to go over there and watch those guys before, some of them made it big. So
yeah, they're an Angels affiliate now.
Okay.
And they were playing the Chattanooga Lookouts. So
okay, so the Lookouts haven't changed. Like
no.
they've been yeah.
I don't know that you can. I mean, you're on Lookout Mountain. Have you ever seen that stadium? It's a really cool stadium.
It is such a beautiful facility.
And if you've never been to downtown Chattanooga, is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Kelly and I went there for a vacation not long ago, and you can walk everywhere. You can do everything. The aquarium's awesome. So this podcast is not brought to you by the Chattanooga Convention and Visitors Bureau. AmyTrace.com.
That's right.
Love those people.
Well, all right, boys. I guess the next time we'll talk, I will either be in Las Vegas or on the way back. We may be able to figure out a way to get together next week and while I'm there and figure something out.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man.
So, cool.
Stuff.
Well, thank you guys again. It's been super awesome. Thank you for listening. And as always, go out and make some awesome.
Yeah, keep coming back.
Teaching to the test pattern.